It's been a little while since our last story. I've been wrapped up with work, and time has a way of slipping away when you're not looking. But I've been meaning to share something that came up recently during a chance encounter. The other day I ran into my old friend John. We hadn't caught up in a while, so I filled him in on the latest eerie tales swirling around the lake. He listened quietly, nodding along, until I got to the story about the rescue diver and the bones. That's when he stopped me. He leaned forward and said, "You know, I think I've got one for you. Something weird. It's about the lake, and I think you're going to love it." Naturally, I was all ears. John said that when he was a kid, his dad used to take him camping at one of the campgrounds on the lake. He couldn't remember if it was still open or not, but back then it was one of their favorite spots. Quiet, peaceful. One summer, instead of pitching a tent, his dad booked one of the campground's little cabins, just a simple structure with bunks and a creaky screen door. When they arrived, they started unpacking their gear, and that's when they noticed something odd. There were burn marks on the wall, not fresh ones, but still noticeable. Blackened streaks curling up near one of the corners, like maybe someone had lit a lantern too close, or gotten careless with a candle. They joked about it a little, wondered who had stayed there last, but it didn't seem like anything serious. Just another quirk of a well-used cabin. That evening after dinner, they were sitting on their bunks, chatting about the next day's plans. That's when John's dad mentioned something unexpected. "Want to go night fishing?" John wasn't sure. He'd never been night fishing before, and honestly, he wasn't sure why anyone would want to go after dark. But his dad seemed excited, so he shrugged and said sure. Just as they were talking, John saw movement near the burn marks. A spider, big one, started crawling out from between the wooden boards, slowly making its way toward the center of the wall. He pointed it out to his dad, who turned just in time to see it creeping toward him. John's dad, who apparently hated spiders, launched himself across the cabin in a single motion. John burst out laughing. "You may be laughing now," his dad said, brushing himself off. "But just wait." Later that night, they took out a rowboat and paddled into the lake. The air was cool and still. John noticed that his dad didn't bring any bobbers, just sinkers, and asked what they were fishing for. "Bullhead," his dad said. John had never heard of bullhead before. "They're bottom feeders," his dad explained. "You don't want a bobber with these guys. You got to get the bait right down in the muck." It wasn't long before they had a bite. John's dad worked the line carefully, then called for the net. John handed it over and helped bring the fish into the boat. He recoiled. It was one of the ugliest fish he'd ever seen. Slick and dark with long, twitching whiskers, like some kind of aquatic gremlin. It writhed in the net, looking more like a swamp monster than a meal. John stared at it and said, "We're eating that?" His dad just grinned. "Of course. That's the best kind." John wasn't convinced. The thing looked like it had crawled out of a Lovecraft story. "You think that's a monster?" his dad said. "That's a small one." He paused. "In fact," he added, voice low, "legend has it there's a giant bullhead that lives somewhere in this lake. A killer bullhead." John blinked. "What?" His dad nodded slowly. "Yup. I've heard stories. They say it's surfaced before. Right here at this very campground." John was frozen, half laughing, half waiting for the punchline. "They say a goat belonging to the campground owners was tied too close to the shore one night, and something took it. Something with glowing yellow eyes that rose up out of the water and dragged it back down." John swallowed. "And get this," his dad continued. "One of the owners saw it. Said it came up on the bank, dripping lake water, glowing eyes and all, before snatching the goat and slipping back into the lake like it had never been there." He laughed. "Let's hope we don't run into that guy tonight, huh?" They finished the rest of their trip in silence. Nothing else bit. No other stories were told, but John said that something about the lake felt different after that. Still, watchful. He figured it was just his imagination, the way kids psych themselves out after a good ghost story. He said they went camping again other summers, but his dad never mentioned the killer bullhead again. And over time, John forgot about it. Until now. Until I started telling stories about the lake and the strange things that seem to live beneath the surface. "That rescue diver story you told," he said. "That one really creeped me out, The bones. The way they said they were all over down there. I used to swim in that lake, you know? I never once thought about what might be on the bottom. Neither did I, to be honest. But I've been thinking about it more lately. And now, thanks to John, I'm also thinking about what else might be swimming down there. Watching. Waiting. Because if there really is a killer bullhead lurking beneath the lake, well, let's just say I'll be sticking to shore for a while.